Hey, look at that. This subject isn't controversial at all. um, yeah, I've made it pretty clear in other videos that I'm pro-life, right? Like, I don't think abortion should ever be on the table. Uh, and I had originally said, you know, if the mother's life was in danger or if the baby's life was in danger, stuff like that, right? But, like, with that one, that wouldn't even be an abortion, right? If their lives are in danger and you have to do a procedure that could result in the death of the child, as long as every measure is taken to keep the child alive, at least you tried. But that's a whole other thing and isn't the vast majority of things, right? Uh, when people talk about all these exceptions, which I don't think there should be pretty much any, like people say, rape and incest and stuff like that. I still don't see how, because something wrong was done to you, you should be able to kill someone else, which is a big part that the pro-choice crowd doesn't seem to understand, is that the pro-life crowd does not view the baby as the woman's body. It's a different person. That's what I don't get with, like, some of the libertarian argument, because I consider myself really fairly libertarian, right? Um, but one thing I don't get is the libertarians that are, like, pro-choice. Uh, because to me, abortion directly violates the NAP, the non-aggression principle, right? Because it's not like you're even just taking it out. They violently kill it inside them and then take it out. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Roe v. Wade, which overturning it is the right move because it's bad law. It established a right that doesn't exist. It twisted the 14th Amendment into something it doesn't cover. And it made up a bunch of shit that just doesn't make sense. It took rights away from the states. And in fact, it violates the 10th Amendment itself. I've seen a lot of people screeching about how Roe v. Wade will be like the end of abortion and stuff like that, which I wish it was, but it's not that simple. Roe v. Wade basically made it so that states could not press restrictions on abortion in the first trimester. Now, if you don't know, babies get a heartbeat in the first trimester. It happens in like 6 weeks. And you're honestly telling me something with a beating heart isn't alive, isn't human, isn't a baby? Fuck you. That's my thoughts on that. Not to mention crazy-ass states like Colorado and Virginia will still be able to kill babies 9 months after the pregnancy starts. Like, Roe v. Wade won't affect that. Like, overturning it won't affect that. I have a friend of a friend. Now, this person is not my friend. As I said, they are a friend of a friend who I have never even really spoken to, except for maybe once saying hello. But my friend told me that his friend is, like, really worried that now they're gonna, like, overturn gay marriage and all this other shit, and it's like, okay, you're getting way fucking ahead of yourself, number one. And number two, I would say the vast majority of people, even on the right, are fine with gay marriage or just don't care. For me, it's a non-issue. Like, I'm not a big, like, proponent of marriage in general, so I don't really care about gay marriage. I do think that marriage was redefined to create gay marriage, but at the end of the day, I don't care. It is a non-issue to me. People want to get married, I don't give a shit. Go for it. But that battle's already been, that's already been decided. That's, like, again, that is not really an issue. Like, the only people I see that have an issue with gay marriage tend to be hardcore Catholics on the right. And they're people I like, like Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, etc. But I disagree with them on this, and I think they're wrong on that. Well, I don't think they're wrong in definition. They're right, and they describe that the definition of marriage has been changed. I just don't care. And I think that the vast majority of people on the right, especially with how a lot of, like, libertarians and, classical liberals and all sorts of other people are on the right too. Like, I have some conservative values, for sure. I consider myself primarily libertarian with some conservative values. I might be slightly more conservative than most libertarians and slightly more libertarian than more conservatives, or considerably more libertarian than most conservatives, actually. But I've never understood a libertarian argument in favor of abortion. Because, again, to me, that just directly violates the NAP. So, but then people don't consider it a human. They consider it the woman's body. It's like, okay, how many hearts does she have? How many toes does she have? How many eyes does she have? Etc. These are questions to ask. But again, that's not relevant because that's not what Roe v. Wade did. All Roe v. Wade did was made it so that states themselves could not pass laws restricting things. So the Texas heartbeat bill, which I think is an amazing bill, that's a good thing. I don't think it goes far enough, but it's a step in the right direction. That wouldn't be allowed. Saying that, hey, once there's a heartbeat, you can't violently kill and then vacuum out a baby. I hate how people just act like it's just a surgical procedure. It's just like removing something. But again, they're literally violently going up in there, killing it, scrambling it, and sucking it out. And you act like that's not fucking barbaric? But yeah, anyway, that same friend of a friend, right, also claimed that if it does get overturned, he wants to leave the country and go to Canada. And my friend was telling me, I know how shitty Canada is, and I don't think he should do that. I'm like, no, he should. Tell him to nut up or shut up. I'm fucking tired of leftists saying, I'm gonna leave the country if this happens. You're still here. It happened. I'm waiting. But you're still here. Nut up or shut up, motherfucker. You're not going anywhere. Trying to talk all tough. Fuck you. You're not doing shit. You're staying right here. Because you're a little basic bitch who doesn't want to give up on the freedoms this country gives you, and yet you bitch all day about how much you hate it. Fuck you. And I'm sure there's going to be some leftists in the comments, or people who are pro-choice, whatever. Like, I have friends that are at least somewhat pro-choice. Like, that same friend I was talking to, he basically thinks that, in cases of rape and incest, then it should be allowed. And while I don't agree, I understand the logic on that one to some degree. I still think it doesn't make sense that, I've brought it up to him before, so it's like, so if your son was conceived through rape, can you just kill him when he's 5 years old because the father raped you? You know what I mean? It makes no sense to me. But again, I think that's a much more reasonable approach, and I think people who are more middle of the road are at least understandable. I don't agree with it. I think their logic doesn't make any sense. I think abortion is murder, full stop. But, because to me life begins at fertilization, or conception, however you want to phrase it. Fertilization is the more technical point, right? Once a new set of DNA is created, that's where I draw the line, right? Like conception, sperm and egg, boom, it's a human life. But yeah, it's funny to me how so many people think that it's just like the end of abortion. I mean, again, it's not, and it should be, but it's not. I remember I won't name names, but I saw someone else on YouTube posting in their community tab talking about how supposedly Republicans were going to get rid of contraception. The fuck are you on about? I mean, there's like a fake rumor going around that some states were going to get rid of like the Plan B pill, which even then I think that's still abortion basically because it's already been fertilized. But the thing is no states have asked to do that. They just want to make it so you have to get it through a doctor than just buying it at like a store. That's it. That's the only difference. And that's not even all contraception. There's condoms, right? There's fucking birth control. There's spermicide. There are plenty of things before that point. Hell, on the extreme end, there's vasectomies and hysterectomies. And you know what? There's the most effective one at all, which, I'm not going to tell people they have to do this, but abstinence. Easiest way to avoid it. Now, I'm not a prude. I don't care what people do as long as it's, consenting adults for the most part. And for the most part, I mean, I don't care for the most part what consenting adults do. Let me be clear. It has to be consenting adults regardless. But I think that for the most part, I don't care what people do in the privacy of their own bedroom as long as they're not hurting anyone. But again, there are choices out there. There are plenty of other options. And when people try to act like pro-life people are anti-choice, they're just patently wrong, right? Because there are choices that we advocate, abstinence, contraception, having the baby and keeping it, adoption, boom. Those are choices right there. There you go. But to say that pro-choice people are anti-life is actually true, because they're fine with killing it. End of story. I'm a few days on this one. Obviously, this leak's been out for a little bit now. I think the leak itself is terrible. I think someone is trying to get the justices to, intimidate them and get them to change their minds. And from what I gather, they don't intend on doing so, which is good. Stick to your guns. Don't let the mob dictate law. That's the way it works. You gotta stick to your fucking guns. And to be fair, I think they all will. I mean, especially like Alito and Thomas. I think they're in the bag regardless. To be honest, those are the two people on the Supreme Court that I actually have respect for, especially Thomas. But that's beside the point. The leak, I think, was bad. I think ultimately, what it says is good as long as they stick through with it. I think whoever leaked it should be punished. I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like they probably are involved. Like, I think whoever's doing the investigation, because isn't Roberts doing the investigation? How much you want to bet he's fine with it and is just going to be like, oh, we couldn't find anything, or some shit like that, right? But, yeah, I think that the intimidation tactics, fuck you. But I also think that the screeching and stuff has been fun. It's been fun to watch people who don't fucking understand what Roe v. Wade actually did. They think that it's taking away the right to an abortion, which, I mean, I guess it is getting rid of the idea of a constitutional right to abortion, but it's not taking away any personal rights. It never was a right. It was bad law. So, it doesn't make sense to me how people don't know what it's... Well, I mean, it does make sense, because people don't fucking follow it. People don't know what it does, what it says. And, I'm like I said, I'm sure there'll be people who disagree with me in the comments, but regardless if you're pro-choice or pro-life, it was bad law. It was absolutely bad law. And I have plenty of people I watch that are pro-choice, like Sticks Hexenhammer and Short Fat Otaku. Both of them agree. It's bad law. So, stop pretending it isn't. Let the states make their own choices on this. I don't think that goes far enough, but it's a good start. It's a good compromise for the time being. Still, babies are going to be murdered in high numbers in other states, but some states will at least save them. Anyway, that's it for this. Have a good one. Toodles.